Forget everything you think you already know about the tragic disappearance of Lynette Hooker. We all heard her husband, Brian, claim it was nothing but a terrible boating accident in the dark. But the truth that is just now surfacing is enough to turn your stomach. You deserve to hear the raw, unfiltered truth of it right now. Federal investigators just completely bypassed his entire spoken timeline. They proved that long before Brian finally made that emergency call, he quietly slipped ashore twice, making secret landfalls on private territory. Why would any grieving husband hide the fact that he went ashore twice before reporting his wife missing? But honestly, that is not even the detail that stopped me completely cold. It is not even the most chilling update that will freeze you in your tracks. No, it is a raw, newly exposed trauma from deep inside their inner circle. Brian's dark lies actively triggered a close friend's wife into a severe post-traumatic stress breakdown, forcing her to crack under pressure and reveal what really happened on that yacht. I am left completely numb, because once you see these pieces connect, you cannot unsee the calculation behind it. Did he intentionally use his closest friends as pawns while hiding his movements on those secret shores? Please, stay with me on this, because what I am about to expose is something almost nobody has the guts to talk about. To support this deep investigation, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe, and show your support right now. Now, look at the evidence. The federal satellite and navigation records have just leaked, and they prove that Brian Hooker did something completely unforgivable. According to the actual investigative tracking data from that terrible night, Brian himself made 2 separate secret landfalls before he ever reported Lynette missing. Let that sink in. He claimed to friends and authorities that he was blown straight across the bay to Marsh Harbor in a tragic accident. But the objective digital evidence completely refutes that story. It maps his exact path heading south around Lover's Island and hitting land twice. Why would any husband, whose wife had just vanished into the ocean, stop at 2 hidden coastal areas before calling for help? What was he doing on those dark shores, and what was he trying to hide or discard? It is absolutely infuriating to realize that everyone was sent on a total wild goose chase. Brian literally drew physical circles on maps for his friends, claiming Lynette went overboard in the shallow water near that Abaco restaurant. He looked people in the eye and lied to point them in the wrong direction, knowing the satellite tags placed him miles away. It is absolutely sickening. But his twisted cover-up did not just deceive the local police. It completely shattered those closest to them. Dan Danforth, a close friend of the couple, recently spoke out on Crime Stories with Nancy Grace to reveal the heavy human cost of this betrayal. His wife was actually one of Lynette's few close friends, and learning that Brian used them as pawns to establish a fake timeline has triggered her medical trauma and severe post-traumatic stress. She is in a fragile emotional state and completely fears the water now. It breaks my heart that an innocent woman is suffering just because Brian wanted a buddy boat safety net for his cover story. And those digital lies run even deeper. Investigators confirmed that right around the moment Lynette disappeared, an 11-hour digital blackout completely wiped out every signal on their yacht, the Soulmate. Every piece of high-tech navigation, tracking, and backup system mysteriously died at the exact same moment. How does an entire network of marine electronics just go dark by coincidence? Or did someone pull the plug manually to hide something far more sinister on board? When you look closer at the contradictions on the water that night, it makes your blood boil because the beautiful fairy tale Brian spun completely falls apart. Inside the official transcripts from the grueling Coast Guard interviews, analysts caught a massive flaw in Brian's story, proving he was likely reading from some script. Brian explicitly claimed he was busy bailing out the cockpit while trying to save the dinghy. But here is the catch that any experienced captain over 50 will immediately spot. A basic open dinghy does not even have a cockpit. It is just a flat, simple vessel. Why would you use high-level marine defense terminology for a tiny rubber boat unless you were feeding a rehearsed lie to investigators? The level of arrogance is maddening. Watching this level of calculated deception while a helpless mother is still missing. And the excuses get even worse. According to maritime safety reports highlighted on Nancy Grace, Brian's defense is blaming a cascade of failures, claiming the magnetic key for the electric motor was lost, so everything just magically broke down at once. It is a completely absurd story that veteran divers and captains are openly laughing at. Who honestly believes that every safety mechanism on board failed at once by coincidence? But as bad as these verbal slip-ups seem, they are nothing compared to the chilling physical evidence found drifting in the water, and what it reveals about where Brian went next will leave you completely speechless. Now, let us look at the actual physical evidence pulled from the sea, because this is where things get truly terrifying. When investigators searched the waters, they noticed a pattern that defied all logic. Every single valuable item belonging to Lynette, her waterproof dry bag, her phone, passports, personal documents, and the boat keys had vanished without a trace. Yet, miraculously, the only item that actually surfaced was a single, highly convenient seat cushion. Brian claimed he threw it overboard to mark her exact location. But guess where it washed up? It was floating right next to the exact hidden shoreline where satellite data proves Brian made his secret landfall. How incredibly convenient. It breaks my heart to imagine what really happened to her out there. To explain this away, Brian's high-priced defense attorney actually argued that modern, thick dry bags can completely block cellular signals, preventing any tracking. But local salvage divers are already lined up to dismantle this ridiculous theory in open court. They know it is just a desperate cover-up. But if you think these manufactured lies are bad, wait until you see how this community is fighting back and the final trap federal investigators are setting right now. The ultimate betrayal in this whole tragedy lies in the deep psychological scars left behind in the local boating community. As Brian Hooker quietly slipped away from the Bahamas under the watchful eye of his lawyer, he left behind a trail of total devastation. His closest friends, the Danforths, are still trying desperately to piece together their shattered lives. Dan recently admitted that his wife's trauma is so intense, their lifelong dream of living on the open ocean is now completely dead. Now, she cannot even look at a boat without facing a crippling panic attack. It leaves a heavy, aching grief in your chest when you realize Brian did not just strip Lynette of her life. He ruthlessly weaponized his friendships and shattered the emotional safety of everyone who ever trusted him. I really want to talk through this with you, face to face. Think about everything we just uncovered. Which part of this investigation hits your gut the hardest? Is it that calculated 11-hour digital blackout on the yacht? Or is it that he secretly landed his boat twice before calling for help? Do you believe a person can truly wash away their sins when the digital truth is forever burned into the waves? Share your thoughts below.